Okay, I'm live. I'm just going to send the invite to Guto now. I'm just going to give Guto a moment to get into the chat, and then I'll let him give a quick introduction, and then I'll probably end up sharing the video that I got tagged in on Twitter actually quite some while ago. I looked; it was actually back in February, but it definitely garnered a lot of attention and seemed to have got a lot of traction. Was it 40-some thousand views it's had over those the last 5-6 months or so? And, obviously a lot of Canadians are concerned with the direction this country's headed. What's wrong with Canada? And he made lots of great points. There were lots of great things contained within that video, which is why I reached out to have a conversation with Guto. And hopefully we'll try to get through the points and what can be done, some of the solutions to try to correct what's going wrong and what's happening in Canada. So, like I say, just give me a minute here, folks. I'm going to get not only sent out to Guto, but let's get, like I say, all the social media pages up to speed about the fact that we're live. Or right now, I'm live. We'll be live both here shortly. All right, send it to the Facebook. There we go. So hopefully some people will get the notification on Facebook. I know there's some protesting going on today too. So I'm not sure if the audience is going to be very big or not. Probably lots of people doing lots of things today. Okay, get back here to home. There we go. And send it off to Twitter. The Twitter. What was it? Was trending earlier today on Twitter. Something pretty wild. I forget now. But anyways, okay, so that's sent out. Like I say, just going to give. Oh, there it is. How come you're not getting any sound? Why is that? Is my
hello? Can you hear me?
Okay, there we go. No problem. What's going on, Guto?
Hey, buddy, how is it going? I'm doing great, and it's a beautiful day. And as you said, lots of protests going on around the country, especially in Ottawa and other cities in Europe. It seems people are waking up.
Yes. Well, that's the thing. There's a lot of waking up, and there's waking up, there's woke, there's all kinds of people that's actually one of the greatest things that I wanted to kind of cover with you. And because of that video that you did there back in February is, I think if you went and talked to anyone from either side of the political spectrum or anywhere in between, they're all going to say the same thing. That's actually the only thing I think that we actually can say where there's genuine unity is, there's something definitely wrong with what's going on. And not just in Canada, but in the West these days. The problem, and I'm sure you'll agree, is a lot of big variances and discrepancies in what the solutions to the problems are.
Yeah, I agree totally with you. There is a lot of things going on wrong in the country, but around the world. But we are in Canada. We want to defend Canada. But it's even harder for us to fix these problems in Canada because Canada is the most politically correct country in the world. We say sorry for everything. Everything we say sorry. Don't get me wrong. It's okay to be polite, but not in excess. I think it's time to replace sorry for fuck. What's going on? That's I think we're like, this is the time. This is the time to stop saying sorry. Let's roll up our sleeves and start working for Canada.
Yes, exactly. I would agree. I'm just checking right now because there we go. Okay, I'm switching to my external speakers. They're just a little bit on the quiet side there.
Okay, I don't want to be quiet.
There we go. No, it was just because I have the monitor speakers, then I have external speakers because depending on who I talk to, some people have their mic cranked up, so I switch back and forth. But now we're good. We're good now. But anyway, so did you want to take a second before we actually dive into this, kind of let the people that are starting to trickle into the stream now, just kind of let people know, who you are, your background, what got you, into this whole, railing against what's happening, and just go ahead there.
My name is Guto Penteado, and I am an immigrant from Brazil. I came to Canada almost 2 decades ago when Canada was a nice country. But I didn't come to this country to live under welfare in a socialist state. I came here to prosper and to raise my kids in a free country. And everything in the last 2 decades are changing. As you said, I stopped saying, I stopped talking about my background and just go straight to the point. That's me. Sorry about it.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
I graduated in communications and major in advertising and marketing a long time ago when we didn't have internet.
Right.
And I have two beautiful kids, two boys, and a beautiful wife. And I'm conservative and also a patriot from Canada and from Brazil. I want both of these countries to succeed. And thank God, Brazil. I left Brazil because it was being run for the left wing for almost 4 decades. I left Brazil because of that. One of the reasons. And now Brazil has a conservative president. That's awesome. After 40 years, we have a conservative president, and I'm here in Canada under a socialist government. It doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, you're just everywhere you go, you just seem to be in the wrong place in the wrong time, apparently. But actually, it's funny that you mentioned Brazil, and actually that being where you're from, because it's quite, especially for libertarians like myself, it's quite knowledgeable now that there's a fairly big movement. I wouldn't say huge, of course, but there's a pretty substantial movement, a liberty movement in Brazil. And a lot of people, whether you're talking about people from the Mises Institute or other libertarian think tanks or other areas that have actually, helped a lot of the people in Brazil. And now they're kind of have their own grassroots type of people on the ground talking and espousing some of these fundamental aspects regarding liberty as well. And I see that it's actually gaining some traction. And I can't help but think that is what ends up happening, whether you're ruled over by someone on the left or the right. But as you say, with Brazil, a lot of that leftism, I guess the people of Brazil are probably fed up at this point in time and yearning and chomping on the bit, just like a lot of Canadian, or hopefully more and more Canadians are at this point, and hear something different because they recognize something was wrong in their own country. So that's a great thing to see. And like I say, regardless of which country it's happening to, obviously as a Canadian, you're a Canadian and you're here now, this is the place where it's going to matter most. But I think this is the kind of information, and because we live in the digital era, this is the kind of information that could be reached out and grabbed and absorbed by people from all over the world, South America, North America, anywhere in Europe, anywhere around the whole planet. So that's why I like having these kinds of discussions, is because, yes, it's going to mainly appeal to us, but it's probably going to resonate with a lot of people from your own home country as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the libertarian, patriotic movements, grassroots movements are growing not only in Brazil or Canada, all around the world. And of course, in Canada, it's a slow motion growing, like everything that can be conservative, libertarian, or patriotic in Canada is always go slower than other places. But it's good to have a conversation like that with you, that we're trying to talk to Canadians and make them see, make them wake up to the facts. Because I think Canadians should just turn off their TV and wake up. That's what should be done. Our media is totally biased, left-wing, and they don't hide it anymore. They used to, but they don't hide anything like that anymore. Well, that's a lot to be fixed, and it's not going to be an easy fight, as I said, because Canada is too much politically correct, and it's a big fight. We have to do that. We have to fight for things like you saw in my video, like not only in Canada, of course, all around the world, we have this kind of same problems where your skin color or your sexual orientation are more important than your principles, your skills, and your values. There are lots of stuff going on now. And people just, it's upside down. They just inverted all values. Everything that should be value as and tradition as family or freedom of speech, freedom, responsibility. Responsibility, another thing that people just don't care. They all want rights, but they forget about their own responsibilities. Because when you are free and you have all your rights, the big thing that comes with that is your responsibility.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'll just say to kind of springboard on that, when you were saying the politically correct, and as we all know, we've heard this terminology tossed around, like political correctness is basically fascism with manners, right? Especially in Canada. But when you're talking about that, I agree. The political correctness, the part that drives me nuts, that irks me all the time, is I wish Canadians were as grammatically, is that even a word? Grammatically? I don't know. But correct in their grammar, because if they were, then actually they would recognize, oh, shoot, Trudeau is not a liberal. Matter of fact, the Liberal Party almost ceased to exist, right? And a Conservative Party, well, that's been absent on the political landscape in Canada for a long time now. That's the thing. People use these words, and the thing that I think is most important and what I keep hammering away is the clarity of language. Clarity gives you clarity of thought, right? And then brings the ideas into more focus in the big picture, in the macro picture of things. And what I think problem with Canadians and a lot of people around the world is they've been inundated with so much of this political correctness or this political speech that they actually don't even properly listen to what the words or even understand the words or the terms that's constantly being tossed around these days. Otherwise, a lot of them will be like, wait a minute, we're not talking anything. When you're talking about the Liberal Party of Canada, that is not a Liberal Party. If you base it on their platform, that's a leftist. That's a collectivist. And as you know, liberals, in terms of the North American, in the classical liberal sense, or even across the pond in England, a classical liberal, to tell you the truth, as a libertarian, if these people are genuine liberals, I should be pretty much having conversations where about 90 to 95% of the things that I stand for or support, they would agree with. But when I talk to people who identify as supporters of the Liberal Party, I recognize that, that's not the case so much anymore. You know, it might have been, like you say, maybe 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago.
Sorry about that in my phone.
Oh, that's okay.
But as you were saying before about political correctness, it became like a shield. It is like a official censorship.
Yeah.
So because of that, you cannot speak like this, or you cannot speak some particular subjects that are maybe offensive or controversial. So political correctness is just a new name for censorship.
Yeah, it is. And you know, the thing, when the part that people should really understand, and like I said, I don't care what people's political background or even the ideology that they hold near and dear to their heart. The biggest thing I think most people should take away is, for someone like myself, or even people like yourself, or anyone that identifies as a libertarian, the fact that we're seemingly constantly shut out of any conversation other than the ones we can generate amongst ourselves, or people that we can entice to engage in conversation as well, that should show you. Because what is a libertarian at the end of the day, right? There's three core tenets and fundamental principles of libertarianism, which is self-ownership. I own myself, nobody owns me. Property rights, so anything I produce with my intellect or my labor is mine. Nobody gets to claim ownership over that. And the non-aggression principle. So don't use preemptive force, violence, coercion, and theft towards your fellow man, woman, and child. So the fact that we're left out of the conversation or the dialogue on the big stage, politically or through the pundit or the media class, that should at least pique someone's interest. And why? Why? It's not like I say, it'd be different if you could paint a libertarian, like, you know, if I was demanded that certain races be oppressed or certain one sex is more dominant than the other. But once again, libertarians stick to those core fundamental principles, because that is the part where we find that universality that most people, if you talk to them, take politics out of the equation. I guarantee almost everyone you'd line up, if you had a conversation, you said, do you accept self-ownership, property rights, and you explained it the way a libertarian would, they would all, for the most part, accept the odd petty tyrant, that inner petty tyrant that might sneak out the odd person. But most people would agree with that. So why? That's the thing that's always piqued my curiosity. Why? Right? And obviously, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I agree with all libertarian principles, the tenets. And I believe, honestly speaking, I believe every conservative is a libertarian at heart. But not all libertarians are conservatives.
No.
Maybe you agree with me, right?
Right.
But every conservative is a libertarian at heart, for sure. I can guarantee you that.
Well, the only way I would push back, I would say
real conservatives. I'm not talking about red Tories.
Right, but you know what that kind of entails to me. I totally get it, but that kind of, I could say the exact same about liberals, but it's just which one I want to emphasize, economics or social policy, because I would say the liberals are even more libertarian, like proper liberals, right? and more are even more libertarian in terms of social policy. So they want more freedoms for, you know, the LGBTQ or minorities and all that. Whereas the conservatives, if you're talking about the economic side of things, yes, very much libertarian and some of the responsibility. So it just depends on that's the problem. And that's one of the biggest divides that I see, which is why as a libertarian, I refuse to pick up the mantle of either side. I recognize that a libertarian, no, what a proper libertarian, what the philosophy does is you take all of those universals, right? Those universalities that are entrenched in morals and ethics and proper principles, and you expand them out so you see that it works for either side. So like I say, in the economic world, conservatives would definitely agree with libertarians in terms of a lot of those freedoms, right? But on the social side of things, some people that identify as classical liberal. So that to me is why I don't like using even the whole left and right, because then it just gives people an excuse to run to one. Once again, it gives people that ability to pick one side. Although, like I say, most people would, I think, if you press them on it in a personal conversation, without people looking on and they don't feel the pressure, I think they would agree with libertarian values and principles, whether they come from the left or the right.
And there is nothing wrong with movements or social movements like LGBT, whatever. We defend those movements too. Right. We all have to be treated equal. What we don't defend and don't appreciate is some of these radical movements. They try to push their agenda forward. They try to change things around. So when they are trying to changes around me, they are interfering with my own liberty, with my own freedom. So I let you be whatever you want to be, so you let me be whatever I want to be.
Yes, exactly.
Respect should be mutual, right?
Yes, but that's the thing, and actually that perfectly segues right into, because I was going to share your video because I think it was a great video, and I'm just going to play that real quick, and then I'm actually going to ask, because that's what you're saying, like you were saying, they and that is true. I agree with you that some of these activists in the LGBTQ movement are basically not happy with just some of the freedoms and their liberties, but they want to impose or have society yield or conform to the way they want the world to function, right? So I'm totally on board with you. But as we watch your video, if there's one overarching theme, and of course it's your own video, so you'll be paying attention anyways, but I would suggest that anyone that's watching, if you listen to even what you're describing with what's wrong with Canada, and like I say, you can place that in with whichever country, insert whatever country you want, but that everything that you're talking about shares one very common theme. And okay, so let me just bring this up here. Okay, share screen.
Go full screen.
What's that? Sorry?
Go full screen.
Yes, I will for sure. Okay, let me just make sure it's still in the window. Okay, yep. And actually, let me just take us out of the window entirely and leave it in here. How's that? There we go.
2-minute video.
Yeah.
Very straight to the point.
Very straight to the point. And great video, by the way, Guto.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, let's see. Oh, let me switch the mic. All right.
Thank you for sharing this.
Oh, not a problem at all. Not a problem at all. Like I say, I thought it was an excellent video, to be honest with you. But like I say, so just watching that video, there's maybe a couple in there that maybe you're a little bit you might be able to not attribute. But what I noticed, the overarching theme of the whole thing, and you covered a lot of issues, a lot of really important issues that definitely, like I say, affect a lot of Canadians, and which is why you probably had a lot of traction with this video, because that's probably appealing to a lot of people. But once again, it comes down to, like, basically the media and the political class have been completely reinventing what even the country of Canada or even what the North American experiments and all this was all properly about. So in terms of the culture, that what's been the driving force is obviously through the education system. Education.
I was going to get there, exactly there. Before we go to globalists or who's trying to a new order, everything is start at education, school, universities. Yeah. Why did we leave? We let the left take over the schools system and university. Now you mentioned media. Now the media people, journalists, when they leave university, they already brainwashed by this socialism. And our kids, and almost always, it makes me really sad when you see kids going to school and brainwashed and being taught sexual education instead of being taught the real subjects and things like this. There are ages of human being they are prepared to hear or adapt, or people are parents are proud nowadays to let them children change their sex. 8 years old kids, 10 years old kids. When I read this stuff, I think this is a prank. This is not happening, but it is. It is happening. Pedophiles now are the trend. Now pedophiles will be in a podium or receive a trophy because it's a new normal to be a pedophile. Tell me.
Let me just say, and when it comes to that, especially towards the people on the left side of the spectrum, a person can be, and I have been very forgiving and very kind to people who constantly seem to be single issue activists and talking about whether you go back 20, 30 years ago of gay and razor. But what I've seen is this constant escalation, and there does get to a point, just like you, where you're no longer even trying to take a reasonable stance. Now, especially in what I've noticed, and as a father of two myself, is when you really start affecting the kids in such a manner, and where you're literally trying to close off their mind from thinking outside of a one-size-fits-all approach, or you must be accepting of one thing. And if you're not accepting of this constant push for the LGBTQ and who knows, maybe P at some point in time, that you're a bad person. That kind of stuff is really detrimental, because that can be horizontally enforced by what may be perceived as majority of your peers or people in media, people that are supposed to be in positions of so-called authority. And what I see is the closing off of the mind. I'm all for, like I say, giving people freedom, but every time I see some of these special interest groups or particular, like I say, groups that are targeting for specific rights for that group, that tells me that there may very well be potential for they're trying to capture to the state to benefit them, or capture the media to benefit them. Because in reality, if you care about human beings and human rights, well, we're all human beings. Why do we have to keep breaking it down into subcategories all the time? Which, as far as I'm concerned, just creates more and more divide, or pits us all in little silos, right? To show genuine unity and actually to take all the arguing and bickering off the table, what I would suggest is let's just have human rights, individual rights. And libertarians are already way ahead out in front in terms of that goes. Is if you respect the individual, as Ayn Rand said, well, the individual is the smallest minority on the planet. So if you care about minorities or targeted groups or oppressed groups, then you need to worry about individual rights, because every individual is included. And instead of looking at people as a group or as a collective, let's look at each other as the individuals. Because then when we see and perceive each other as individuals, that's where we garner respect for each other, right? Because we know of the person, they might have their own unique circumstances or condition that they've brought up. But if you just target a group, you can't get that kind of mental visualization.
You are absolutely right. I have lots of gay friends, women or men. and totally disagree with this kind of movement. It's not LGBT anymore. The trans community hijacked this, and they don't go to pride parades anymore because it's horrible what's going on. They are pushing something sadomasochism and things like that. It's not about their rights anymore. It's about exposure. They want you exposure to kids. They want to show off. And most of the gay people, the serious gay people in this country or in the world, they hate this kind of approach the trans movement is doing. Like that lady, what's her name? Jessica Yanovic. You know that. Let's be honest here. If it was like 50 years ago, that Jessica would be in a mental institution. Let's be honest here. She will be there. She will be there. So now we've been all passionate with all the people, with all the difference. We are accepting everybody. So you can express yourself, Jessica. Do whatever you want. But then she takes the advantage of the system, the advantage of us, allowing them, because these people are most of these people, the radical people, are mentally ill. So instead of being in mental institutions, we are allowing them to dictate the rules. And she's suing people because they don't want to shave her, her intimate parts, eh? Where are we? This is unbelievable.
Yeah, and the media loves, or people just love creating this kind of like these distractions or divide, which once again is the big thing, because people in Canada, like I say, they're all looking. I mean, if you look at the protests and the petitions, people are upset, right? Like I say, the left, people on the left and the right. The problem is nobody wants to talk to each other. Everybody seems to want to get in their own little echo chambers and just sit there and praise and promote each other, which just reinforces that kind of rigidity, and doesn't allow for these kind of concepts or these ideas to be expanded upon and analyzed from multiple perspectives. Even when I watch media pundits on the television, whether it's CBC or CTV or Global, they bring these people on, but in reality, they all seemingly have pretty much the same perspective or opinion, just slight differences in the way they deliver it, right? Or how forceful they are in their position. But there's no one, like I say, my biggest gauge is to know where the media or the pundit class are in Canada, is to see, are they willing to bring on someone that espouses things like someone like myself would say? Because if they are, then at least we know we're getting close to the point where there might be some genuine dialogue and some genuine discussions that libertarians, conservatives, liberals, or anyone that cares about these issues would perk their ears up. But I'm not seeing that, which is why I'm overly concerned, and why I think people like you and I, who've been trying to do this, are trying to pick up the mantle and the torch. Unfortunately, though, we're having a really difficult time because we have the social media platforms that are preventing us from having our sway or our voices out there and being.
Yeah, we're being shut down all around the world. We have been shut down. Have you watched that documentary, Plandemic, Indoctrination?
Yes, I did. Yeah, me and the wife watched it together. Yes.
Now it's all the social media like Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, they took it down. So it's very rare to find where to watch it. So that will be a kind of conversation start point. You know what I mean? So people should see this kind of documentaries and start thinking like critically. Doesn't matter. Oh, some people, this is like a conspiracy theory. Okay, but watch it. Make your opinion later after you watch it. But the people are just prejudging things before they watch. They shut it down and they don't want to hear you at all.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, just the way you can tell, even just the way that the media pundits or the media personalities, when they cover a particular issue, it's always depend if it aligns with their ideology or their preferences, right, and how things are done. It's always treated with kid gloves, very minimal pushback. But if you're talking about anything that challenges the status quo or the establishment, it's automatically met with those negative connotations and those derogatory statements or adjectives, right? So yeah, racist or Islamophobic, and that's all to set up and like you say, basically like the fascism with the political correctness is fascism with manners. Is it basically it's meant to shut down and quell people from even engaging in discussion, because I think the media class, they particularly realize, and we know the political class definitely realizes, because we've heard a few of them mention it, even people like Catherine McKenna, is they just got to keep hammering away at that same narrative and never let anyone hear anything different. And that's how you keep the people's minds in focus, right? But in reality, like I say, to know that you have a citizenry of people that are properly informed or actually have critical thinking skills, the only way to test that hypothesis is to give them the ability to hear alternative news or information or even sources of pushback in terms of ideologies. And then if they still make the wrong decisions, then they might need some education. But as far as I'm concerned, I think a lot of the Canadians that are alive today are just inundated with this constant nonstop one-size-fits-all, reinforced by people that identify as conservative or liberal or NDP. And they think, well, then if all the people from all these main political parties who are supposed to be all so varied and so different and so diverse, if they're all agreeing on this, well, then how dare I think outside that box? But that's the trick. That to me is the biggest trick, is they all pretend that they have varying perspectives, but at the end of the day, guarantee they all go out, have a drink with each other and I don't know, sit down and count the money that they're going to collect on the unsuspecting Canadians by keeping them duped and manipulated in such a way.
We are in the middle of a battle, a very difficult fight, and the other side is very organized, and we are not united. We are not united. We are not organized. And when I say united, I don't mean everybody vote to the CPC, the Conservative Party, like we have been doing for years and years and years. Oh, I want to get rid of Trudeau. Let's vote CPC. Let's vote CPC. Vote. That's what frustrates me the most, really, because a lot of good conservatives are voting for the CPC without knowing what their party has become. They now are a center-left party with policies very similar to the Liberal Party. So what's the point to take out Trudeau of government and put somebody with the similar policies there? We're not going to change Canada like that. Why we just don't unite it, like patriots, libertarians, conservatives, vote? Of course, I'm selling my fish, my People's Party of Canada here because I belong to the party. But honestly, I think nowadays, this is the only party that can unite Canadians, because we are patriots, we are conservatives, libertarians, and anybody who wants real change. If you keep voting on the same two parties, you're not going to change anything. And history proves that. Just look at the last election. What have changed? They said the PPC will split votes. No, but conservatives were afraid of that and didn't vote PPC. That, as you said, that was a fiasco. But it wasn't a fiasco for our party, because our party is a home for this kind of people. We share the same values. That's why we create this party, to be home of the conservatives, libertarians, and patriots of this country. The difficult things to do is to make the conservative people see they are voting to the wrong party, wrong for the wrong ideas. They are more loyal to their party than to their country, because if they think straight, if they open their minds, they see their party is not fighting for their values or their principles. And the only party that can align, maybe if you don't agree with everything that the PPC says, but if you compare the platforms, you're going to go there, oh, this is me. At least 80% or 90% I agree with that. So if you agree with that, why are you going to vote for another party that you don't agree with? So stop being loyal to your party and be loyal to your country. As I said, roll up your sleeves and work for your country, not for your party.
Well, I would agree. But one thing I will push back just a little bit on that, because I too jumped in early on, and I've never, actually, in the course of my whole life, I'll be 50 years old in November. I've only voted twice ever, and they were both in provincial elections. So I've never even, but when I seen the PPC, Maxime and people that had told me about the libertarian, how he had some libertarian leanings and ideas, I too, just like you, was more than willing to jump into the fray. And I did. I mean, the evidence is all out there. I interviewed a tremendous amount of the candidates. I was a founding member. I supported them even financially. I did everything I could. I reached out, not just to the members and candidates.
And we appreciate that. We really appreciate that.
Right. So to me, I was all about, but what I got at the end of the day is, and this I think is the big problem is, and why I think I'm leaning more towards, if I'm ever dealing with politics again, I think it has to be under the Libertarian Party of Canada, because what I recognize, and you're kind of even admitting it in a way, is the People's Party. The reason why, well, the name, and a lot of people didn't like it because they thought it was communist or socialist. But to me, once again, you're talking about the people, because I need to support a party that is a representation of ideas, and all people should fundamentally be able to get behind and support ideas such as the non-aggression principle, self-ownership, property. But when you kind of paint it in that way, and you've kind of admitted it here in this conversation, where it's more for conservatives and libertarians, well, I would definitely agree with the conservative thing, and maybe to a lesser degree, I would even agree with you that there are some people like yourself within the party who are definitely friendly and kind to libertarians and accept them, and will open that tent up to them. But I've also noticed there's a substantial portion, I would say actually probably a majority of the supporters of the PPC, that would just as rather see me hang with the liberals as take a picture with.
I don't see it that way. You're a very nice person. I respect your beliefs, and yeah,
but you can only speak for yourself, though.
I respect you as a person as well, and I don't see why people would do that to you, really.
I know, that's why I'm concerned, and that's why I like to talk and reach out to speak to individual people, because I don't, like I say, I'm not claiming that you're that way. I believe that you're so far you're a genuine guy. You seem to be honest and forthright, and you want to like I say, create that bigger tent. But I have noticed from some of the, well, like I say, it seemed like we were buddies, and I'm just going by anecdotal experience. There could be some outliers, could be even my personality conflicts with other people. I totally get that, but I did see after the election ended that literally it is like I was abandoned. Like it's like I was the redheaded.
I'm sorry you felt like that.
No, but it's not even feeling, because if I was just going by my feels, I would slap myself in the face, because I don't like to function just solely on feels. I go by my actual analytics of the people that watch my videos, like the demographics, who the audience is. And, whereas I always used to get thousands of views basically from almost all of my videos, and especially up until, and then during the entire PPC when they were running. And then, like I say, as soon as the election was over, and I did some analyzing of the thing, but I was just honest about it, about how they finished. Nobody really, but it was like, how dare I say anything bad or negative? But you know what, just like myself, the only way I can ever change or improve anything I've done, I have to reflect, and I have to even tell myself some cold, harsh truths that, yeah, you fucked up in the past. You're going to have to do better, right? But I didn't get a response like, okay, yeah, maybe I got basically the cold shoulder. So that's the thing that I'm concerned about. And like I say,
let's do something. I would invite you to become a PPC candidate on next election. How that sound to you?
Well, that's the thing. That to me is not, I mean, I get that, but tell you the truth, I don't even consider being a politician a badge of honor. Matter of fact, I think I'd almost rather, and no offense to all the but I think I'd almost rather step in dog shit, to be honest.
Just going back to the name of the party, People's Party, that you mentioned. At first, it creates confusion because of the People's Party of China. And I don't want to create any confusion. Yeah. But if you take a look at it, it's called People's Republic of China.
Yeah.
So China is not a republic, and it's not for the people. So they are using the people's name wrong, not us. But I agree with you that the connotation it's hard to avoid. I agree with that.
Yeah. Well, I don't even mind, like the name, like I said, the name was definitely, none of that actually really mattered a whole lot to me, because what I was hoping that what was appealing to the people wasn't the particular party name, wasn't even the fact that it was Maxime Bernier as the leader, right? Although at least he had some half-decent credentials. He was already known. The media would cover him and stuff like that. But it was the ideas, because there were some ideas that were part and parcel of the party platform that I definitely agreed with and got behind. But the reason why that was because I recognize, and with the name of the People's Party, I recognize that it should be able to appeal to, like I say, even people that are disenfranchised liberals or classical liberals. But I don't know. There might have been a few of them that supported that.
We just don't appeal only to conservatives, libertarians.
Yeah, because if we do, because if you appeal only to conservatives and libertarians in Canada, yeah, especially if you're going to try to win at the box or the poll, you're never going to win. You're going to be a loser forever.
It could be our big base, like conservatives, libertarians, and patriots. That's our base, how we were created, and who most of our people are right now. Right. But we are a party made for all Canadians, with no divisions, with no minorities, with no majorities. We are only one. We are the only party that puts Canada first and Canadians first. And that should be enough for every Canadian to give a second look at our party, because the party was made for you, to work for you Canadians, and to work for Canada, to save Canada from UN, from those climate alarmism. That's another thing that is hard to fight. My God.
Yeah.
Oh God. When I hear this climate change thing, of course the climate's change. If it wasn't changed, then we should be concerned, right? Well, it's all connected. It's all connected, and if we start talking about it, it's going to be days and days talking. And I know our time is precious.
Yeah. Well, actually, when we were exchanging on Twitter, you even said we don't necessarily have to get into like a philosophical discussion, although I think we're doing a pretty good job of that right now. But the other aspect of that, well, we're bringing politics into it as well. But the other aspect of that was, what are some of the solutions and ideas? Because that's a big thing. And once again, one of the overarching themes of that video you did is you see a lot of economic aspects. So UN getting money, or sending money here, or paying out someone this or that. So a lot of forced and wealth income redistribution. For me, the number one thing as a libertarian is, you can get on into the nuanced conversation is like, what should your tax rate be? How high taxes should be? But at the end of the day, especially for the young people in this country, I think fundamentally is being brutally honest with them, and basically, which is why hashtag taxation is theft. Right? I constantly promote that. Because if people actually understand, rather than thinking we're just trying to move things around on this chessboard or something, if they fundamentally understand that literally, like, prior to 1917, there was no such thing as an income tax in Canada. And if people understood that the government basically takes all that money, whether you're talking provincial, local, provincial, federal, and of course, each branch you get there, they're taking more and more of that and used for more and more wealth and income redistribution. But if people realize that it's that currency, it's that work, it's the fruits of their labor and their intellect and all that they provide society, it's that big chunk of wealth that the government confiscates and takes from you without your express permission, lad, that they use to not just pay off their buddies and just maintain their power, but also to pay their enforcers or the rest of the media. I mean, look, that $600 million that Trudeau's given out to the media, now that didn't come from nowhere, right? They're literally using taxpayer dollars, or should I say the productivity of the unborn, because if you look at the debt and deficit levels, the people that are alive today aren't going to be paying these debts off. It's the unborn basically at this point in time, but they're using that rampant wealth and income redistribution to economically enslave those of us who are alive today and our future prospects for our successive generations of tomorrow. So that's a fundamental thing. And in terms of remedies and solutions to these problems, this is where we got to get the business world into this thing, is there are already options and alternatives out there. Instead of, we know the Canadian dollar, it's a rigged system. It's a rigged, well, basically all the world currencies, and they're all based and built upon the US, which is the world reserve currency. But we all know we basically live in a fiat type of economy. There's nothing that's embedded with the underlying fundamentals of the economy. They're so diverged now that there's basically two economies. There's the real economy, which is minuscule and tiny in comparison to this fiat economy that's just pump and dump, right? So if we want to get out from underneath of that, then you have to withdraw your support. And the government's not going to give you permission to keep 100% of your proceeds. But if you had an employer that was willing to pay you, whether you're talking silver or gold, or Bitcoin or Ethereum or something that you could retain your purchasing power instead of seeing it constantly eroded or devalued, because that's what fiat currencies are doing today, then that would be a massive amount of power that the people have in possession of their own hand, each and every individual, where we could vote with our dollars rather than worrying about every few years where we show up in this first past the post system and hope a small minority of people, that's much smaller than the rest. Because like I say, you have to do something that's going to appeal to the left as well, because they a lot of them, especially on the left, they work for government. They're not going to shoot themselves in the foot to change. Sir, go ahead, respond to that, because I know I put a lot in there, so go right ahead.
We have to appeal to the left, but the way we have to appeal to the left is to give them education. We have to make them aware that 100%. They're being voting to the wrong party too, because they vote for thinking that party, the left party, are the ones protecting their rights, and it's not true. Just like the Democratic Party and the Republican in the United States, the KKK were Democratic, were the Democrats running KKK, and who freed the slaves were the Republicans. But they invert the values. The Democrats are who are protecting the black communities and everything like that. This is what we have to do relating to the left. We don't need to change our position to be left to the left. What we need is to change the people to think properly, to think accordingly, to wake up. That's what we need to show what's going wrong behind the scenes with the parties they are supporting. That's what we need to do, not change our values or things. We should tell them that how our values are. How can we share these values? How can we have a common ground, a common place? Okay, you can be LGBT, no problem with that. But please respect the other guy who doesn't want to be LGBT. That don't push your agenda forward. Respect people's individuality and liberty.
Yeah. Well, what I just wanted to, so kind of just building on what I was saying earlier is, so when it comes to the business community, I think we would both recognize and acknowledge, and I think even most people in the chat would acknowledge, a lot of the business owners and entrepreneurs, well, not just the ones that have got established businesses, for sure, I would suggest, overwhelmingly vote conservative or identify themselves as conservative in some way. I'm not saying that people on the left don't create businesses or aren't entrepreneurs themselves, but I would say the overwhelming bulk or the majority of people who are business leaders or business owners or like I say, have that entrepreneurial mindset and come from the economic side of things are people that would identify as conservative. And to me, it's like, well, as a conservative, and a conservative is supposed to be about, limited small government, free markets. Well, if that's the case, then we need that business community in Canada to actually step up and show us that they are actually conservative. Because if that was the case, well, like I say, they have no problem if they're generating a product or a service that's profitable, right? All they have to appeal to is the customer base, investors. They don't have to cater to government. It's the ones that are catering to government. I typically, I would suspect, right, and is the ones that are fearful of losses because they can't compete with someone else. So they're the ones that are looking for the government to capture or to monopolize their industry. Whereas the free market, the genuine conservatives, are more competition oriented. And to me, if the ones that are, so it's like Atlas Shrugged, right? The ones that have the most influence are building the businesses and have the knowledge and intellect to understand how the businesses operate. They don't have to cater to these loser politicians. No, create a business model that's so amazing. And like I say, find your own ways to compensate your employees, to have economic transactions function where you don't have to constantly always be using government largesse or even the current fiat system. That's the area where the people, the leaders in the business community that are on the right side should be stepping up to the plate and adopting some of these modern technologies. But that, I think, is one of the biggest issues we have with people that are typically conservative. Right? It's kind of part and parcel that they don't change.
I totally agree. But look at the big corporations like Google and Nike and everything. they were created and they make billions using our conservatism, and now they want to get richer using the socialist idea. So if somebody farts in the black community, they already changed something in their logo or cancel something, or this is going too far. Now hockey wants to change the marking lines of the court from blue to black. What does this have to do with racism? If we paint a line that is blue, black, people will be less racist. No. So why you're doing that? Why are you mixing sports with sports? Should be a place or something that we go watch when you want to take out your stress, have fun. Don't think about politics or anything. But they're making everything about their cause. Everything, media, sports, everything. This is just going too far. The Black Lives Matter started as a nice idea, right? A nice movement, but then was hijacked by the left again, and now it's just a Marxist movement of rioters and people who are stealing from other people, killing other people. It's just like Antifa. Antifa says we are anti-fascist. So, but Antifa is fascist. What the heck is going on here? They're inverting all the meaning of the words and everything. If when they call you racist, it means like you were conservative thinking. That's exactly what means racist. Oh, you're a conservative thinker. That's it. So they shut you down, and if you keep quiet, they're gonna take over more and more and more every single day. And that's why you're here, I'm here, we're chatting, we're trying to find solutions. And that's what the left should be doing too, instead of trying to shut us down. Why they don't have a debate with us? That's what you said. There is no communication, right? In echo chambers, right? But they want to have this conversation because they don't have arguments. They don't have arguments for anything they do. All they want to do is to patronize minorities and things like that, and we're the saviors of the world. And whoever don't have a bit of education or critical thinking, just follow the crowd, just like cattle, just like sheep. That's what's going on here.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing too that I wanted to mention, because once again, I wanted to add in some solutions. So like I say, I wanted to make sure that I stuck to what you wanted me to bring to the table here. So like I say, not just the great discussion which we're having, and I really appreciate this, Guto. I really am enjoying this conversation. But once again, another solution, which I think, again, this should appeal to the conservatives, especially the ones that have wealth and have money to kind of invest and kind of help change and shift societal norms. Like I say, because to me, it's not so much as tearing down the old, but building something new that coincides or is alongside where people can just gravitate. Because I don't like the concept of tearing everything down or revolutions. It's all, at the end of the day, you just end up having to rebuild a whole lot. Whereas I'm saying, if conservatives, like, we know that the big social media platforms, now there are a few, but like Andrew Torba that built the Gab network, and he's constantly expanding on all kinds of different areas, the dissenter browser. He's coming up with Gab TV to be an alternative solution to YouTube. But in Canada, I'm seeing, like, America, they're definitely not, there's still a lot of battling that's going to take place. But I see there's still some people in some areas of the conservative or libertarian movement down there where they're actually putting some teeth, sinking their teeth in, or some skin in the game, and trying to push back and invest in some of the things that they need to counter the left. Because like this, the education system, the media, we all recognize that it's overwhelmingly been captured by these leftists, right? So what you got to do is you have to offer and build alternatives. So just like in a marketplace, well, you have to offer an alternative solution. And that's what I expect, and what I want to see in Canada in particular from conservatives and people that do have, some money to throw around, is start investing. So whether you're talking about healthcare, of course, and conservatives, that's a big thing for conservatives, right? Is to make sure there's healthcare to protect the weak, the vulnerable, and the elderly, right? And that is a big, important step. And that's something I think most Canadians, if not all, would support. It's just how it's handled, because there's no way to hold governments to account when it's just, here, I'm just going to take the money, out of a portion of your money or your paycheck. There's no way to see where the paper trail leads to or where your money went. But Well, again, if conservatives could adopt, like I say, take some of their principles and their ideas and their business sense and combine it with some of the newer technologies such as blockchain, because with blockchain, it's not just the fact that you can create cryptocurrencies, although that's a great benefit as well, but the underlying structure of blockchain is a perfect platform to build smart contracts, which literally prevents fraud or theft or manipulations of such, where you could actually have these underlying structures and a smart contract. So rather than me just sending money off to the government, or the government just taking it without my express permission or against my will, if there was smart contracts set up where, the efficiency, I think that would be a benefit of that, we'd realize that actually healthcare is not nearly as expensive as it currently is. And matter of fact, there's a tremendous amount of efficiencies that's been built and expanded over decades, not just research, but the kind of instruments and tools and like, of course, manufacturing of all that stuff. And like I say, the amazing technological advances in healthcare. So I think we can bring the efficiencies down. And if we had something like the smart contract, I think the Canadian people could have something basically aligned or very similar to our current healthcare system, right? Where it's kind of like everyone pays into a pool, and it gets spent and out to the people that need it and all that stuff. Yeah. But we could all hold each other to account, make sure there is no fraud in contained within there. And I think it would be something, let's say you did here's just a thought experiment I was running through, because I think what it would make it appeal even more to Canadians than just what I've kind of sold it so far. But if you also made it just like with any other forms of insurance, where, okay, this is how much the pool goes into the year based on the percentage that goes out in a typical year, leave a little bit of discrepancy, a little bit of cushion there, that's within a range, and then any excess for that year, it goes back and divvied back among the population that put it in. So let's say you had to put in $100 a year for healthcare. I don't know. I'm just picking a number out of my ass. But if it ended up the government used $90 of that from all Canadians, that was the cost. Although I don't think it would be that much. But if that was the total expenditure for all the healthcare costs incurred over the course of the entire year, then that 10%, then you just divvy that back up to the population equally and based on the equal amount that they took from each Canadian. And then Canadian would see a return. They're seeing that there's a benefit going. They know there's accountability. They know that fraud has been basically eliminated. And I think, like I say, Canadians would opt in. And the few that wouldn't, well, there's lots of people that don't opt in right now. People who are unemployed, people who never work, right? There's rich people that hide their money and never pay taxes. So there's already a tremendous amount of people that can escape paying into these socialist systems, like I say. But if conservatives or libertarians would offer actual solutions, right, and show there's a better way, then, like I say, you don't have to necessarily defeat your opponent, but you'll see that large pool of the Canadian population that'll realize that, hey, that's like what the liberals or the lefties are doing today. Yeah, that's like being a shit scooper down in New York City for horses when the Model T and the Model A are starting to roll off the assembly line. They're like, oh, wait a minute. That's probably a really inefficient way to do things, right? Here's a new model that seems like it's going to be a whole lot better, right?
Same thing with like clean energy. We already have the solution.
Yes.
Nuclear power is the solution. It's the cleanest energy in the world. Yep. Saskatchewan is the biggest exporter of uranium in the world. And you already have the solution. But the Green Party, the Greenpeace, and the left don't want to have a solution. What they want is more billions and billions of dollars for research. So they keep funding the university, the scientists, what they call the real science, and they know that solution is there. But what's the point to solve the problem? What's the point? If we solve the problem, we won't get funded. And that's what happens with everything else in this country and in the world. So we have a solution for that, for the climate change crisis. If you put nuclear power in every tanker or ship in our oceans, can you imagine how much oil would you save in as a pollution? Just starting there, you know what I mean? Yep. What about energy, power energy for the whole country? So nuclear is the answer, and we might find another something else as well that is clean. Yep. But windmills, they don't work as we want, and all the other solutions don't work. And
Well, see, that's actually the problem, whether it's the Greens or the Liberals or the NDP or the Conservatives, is that's the thing. When you can just use that government largesse and that redistributive model or economically enslaved future generations, you don't have to worry about just how well that business model is going to work out or pan out, because someone else is footing the bill at the end of the day, right? Whereas and conservatives are usually really good at the private investment, is there's a much higher standard of accountability when you're putting your own skin in the game. And like I said, just like I say, not just for healthcare and not just for energy. And energy is, once again, hey, if people can come up with amazing ideas in terms of renewable energy, good for them. I don't care if they're conservative or a liberal or whoever they are. If you come up with a great idea that people will adopt voluntarily, you're not trying to ram it down people's throat or taking from Peter to pay Paul so that you're giving someone an advantage over the other.
And don't impose carbon tax on tax.
Right, exactly. All that stuff. And another thing to add on top of that is, once again, the education system. What a beautiful opportune time for people of conservative leaning or libertarian leaning or basically anyone at this point in time. There's already been a disruption. This is a perfect time where people have had at least dipped their toes in the water and see that, oh, look, you can actually get an education without this massive amount of bureaucracy, the teachers union, the massive expenditure that goes into, those institutions and stuff. There is a way, like I say, offer alternative solutions. And in the age of information, in the digital realm, in the digital era, that should be something that's quite easy. And actually, Google is getting out in front of this stuff. Like I say, we need to get the people that want to challenge these big, giant behemoths, these corporations that are basically always trying to manipulate the world or society. You need, I don't know where the competitive spirit of the conservatives went, or if they've just all lost their money. Because I can say, for me, I can come up with the ideas, but without the money, like, they all just stay up here, right? But if I was a conservative or a libertarian that actually had money or means at my disposal, I would definitely be putting some of these ideas to fruition, because I recognize that's the best thing. That's how you're going to change culture. I don't believe that showing up every few years and just checking a box once in a while, especially in Canada's first past the post system, and a lot of people are going to be, whether they like it or not, are going to be constantly maintaining the status quo because they benefit from it. Like I say, it seems like a game that you just can't win. So like I say, if you can't win that game, start your own game, right? Yeah. With the rules where more people are going to want to play that game because they realize that the rules aren't rigged to benefit some at the expense of others.
Yeah, it seems they don't want to find solutions. Like they're more they want more like to fight systemic racism, for instance, that it doesn't exist. Tell me one law, one rule that protects a white person or a black person or over others. There is none. So there is no systemic. Of course, racism exists, but it's a small percentage of despicable people, and that's like individuals. They are despicable, but don't blame any system. I mean, like North American system, America or Canada system are not racist. The system is not racist. If there is any protection, maybe there is a little bit here that favors Native Americans or Canadian natives or some black communities, but not favoring white people. There are nothing that is doing that. We're here. We're brothers. We're all one people. Forget about races.
Yeah.
As Morgan Freeman says, the more you talk about it, the worse it gets. Morgan Freeman says that about racism.
Yeah. Well, especially when you're talking about the race divide stuff, that stuff really bothers me, because as a white person, like, just because my skin color shares the similarities with, whether you're Canadian or whether if you go across the pond to Europe, my skin color probably matches up with German, Austrian, Hungarian, English, Scottish, Swedish. But once again, to paint or stereotype white people as if we're just one giant monolith or collective, to me, it's just as devastating and disgusting for the individual, for our psychology, for a healthy psychology, as it is when people try to collectivize black people or brown people, as if every black person is just, like, once again, one monolith. And if I was a black person myself, I'd be so insulted. And not so much, matter of fact, and I'm being completely honest with you. Let's say there was a white guy that genuinely just was a racist, and he just said, I just don't like black people. You know what? Or there was what's today is these liberal elites or these leftist elites that actually want to treat me as if I'm an adolescent child, and here I just got to protect you from the world. I would actually feel worse. You know what? The insult, I brush that shit off and I forget it.
It's an insult.
5 seconds later. But somebody's trying to smother me to the point where they're like this overbearing, overreaching mother figure. That shit would drive me way more crazy than some asshole calling me a racist slur or slang.
And what's happening is the culture of victim. I am a victim. I am a victim. I am a victim of society. And white man is to blame. White man is to blame. I could use this minority card because I am an immigrant in this country. I never use it. I never use it because I don't feel like I am immigrant. Maybe it was even a little harder for me to get the job I want when I arrived. Could be, but I didn't complain. I didn't became a victim or start blaming anything. I start fighting until I get where I want to be, and that's and a lot of people from the Black community in the United States are waking up and moving to the Republican because they are tired. They have been slaves physically of the Democrats, Ku Klux Klan, and now they are brain slaves of the same body, and now they're starting to wake up. You should wake up. Everybody should wake up, I think. So I came to Canada because I love the country. I came twice on vacation, and then I didn't apply for immigration before because before you needed to speak French and English. And then they changed the law. You could speak either French or English, and then I applied. I love this country, and that's why I moved here, and that's why I started a family here. But now people are just for this last two past decades, people are changing this country, trying to change to the way their countries were. You cannot put pork in school because in my country we don't eat pork and things like that. If you don't like the way it is here, move back. I came here because I like the way it was. Don't change the way Canada was and the way Canada is seen from everybody in the world. We are trying to change our culture because to accommodate people. No, people have to accommodate to our country. That's the way. That's the mindset every immigrant should have, and that's why I'm the PPC party. Is the only party who thinks and align with my thinking. We want to make the number of immigration to be lower than it is now, to focus on economic immigrants, not open borders and give a priority to refugees. We're not accepting demands of the UN with migration compact and things like that. We have sovereignty. We should be able to decide by our own how many people we want to immigrate, how many people we can't, and how we're going to select them. It was hard to get in Canada before. I don't want it to be hard, but I want it to be at least to make sense. Let's select the people like they select me. I apply. It took some time, and it was a very selective process to come to Canada, and it should be like that.
Yes,
it's not like the United States. You put a lottery online, and then anybody, if you were lucky, you come to Canada, and maybe you were a bad guy or had a really bad past. And we don't want people like that here. And my NDP neighbor, he called me racist because I'm against immigration. I said, no, I'm not racist. I am an immigrant, and I just don't want lots of immigration, because when I got here, I was welcome. I had the services to help me out with everything. It was not like a big flow of immigration, and we don't need that big flow because Canada doesn't have the structure or money to accommodate so many millions of new immigrants like that just at once. We have to be selective. We have to we need immigrants. This country is formed by immigrants, but we have to be more selective and more practical with things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the thing that and you're a perfect example. I pay astute attention to the established media, not because I like to watch them, but because you have to know what they're talking about. That's people always say, why do you always share so many CBC articles? Well, if you're not paying attention to the people that are the thought leaders in your country, even the ones you vehemently disagree with, then you're not getting the full story, and you don't know actually how to properly respond to react. Because that, to me, I have to hear what they're saying to know how to properly respond and react to what they're saying. And as many times as I've watched all these heartfelt, bleeding heart lefty stories where they're trying to appeal to people in minorities or immigrants I've never heard one with a story like yours, Guto. How odd is that, right? Because you actually are perfect situated where, if you care about immigrants, right? To me, if I was a media personality, you would be a perfect person to use as an example to push back against the Roxham Road crossing, where people are pouring across to the tune of, what was it, tens of thousands basically per year.
I want
up in the queue. Sorry, go ahead, man.
I want all immigrants to come here legally and feel welcome the way I did.
Right.
If you come in a bunch of billions or millions, you're not going to feel welcome. You're going to be living in ghettos. You're not going to learn the language. It's like we're not sheep or cattle. We don't come in bunches or herds or anything. Come as an individual that you appreciate what Canada is, what Canada should offer you, and how can you grow. That's kind of mentality you have to come to a new country. Like you have to be like you have to be naked inside and absorb the culture and see. I love my country, Brazil, but I changed my country. I came to Canada and decided this is a better place for me because I have my own reasons. I don't want to bring Brazil here and teach you how you should be like Brazil. Yeah, of course, we have Brazilian communities associations here. And I was one of the co-founders of the Brazilian Association here in Saskatoon, where we go cherry our values and we remember good times. We play our songs. That's good. We're preserving our culture, but we're not trying to change Canadian, the Canada or Canadian culture. I like the way it was, and that's what I fight for. Let's go back to the way it was, the good Canada, my Canada, your Canada, our Canada.
Yes, and why can't the media hacks and the CBC, have that same kind of bleeding heart mentality or sentiment towards someone like yourself or someone that's equivalent to you, but in the modern era that's trying to, let's say, emigrate from Brazil or anywhere in South America, and yet they're restricted or put in or placed in the back of the line. Meanwhile, all you have to do is game the system entirely, jump on a bus, go up to upstate New York, and just walk across, breaking international boundary rules and laws and jump the queue more or less. That's unfair to the people.
They jump the queue. And the people who are applying legally, they're the ones who get harmed because all these people get in front of them. And that's why I said there's lots of stuff going on that really bad and wrong in this country. And there are laws to be done. We should have more conversations like that because it's going to take some time until we get this all figured out.
Yeah, actually, I was just going to bring up one other thing because, like I say, we're talking about disrupting and offering solutions, right? So that, in addition to the cryptocurrencies, the underlying blockchain, and smart contracts, which are three definite possible solutions to a lot of the problems, I like to use the example now, and I'm really happy that Elon Musk, and I get there's still some government in there, but try to do anything today without government getting their grubby hands in your business, it's almost impossible anyways. But the fact that a private company such as SpaceX has done, because I've heard so many times before when people push back against private healthcare or private options in education or private anything that you replace government, wealth redistribution, right? They say, oh, it just can't be done. They believe that the only thing that could do it is government because everything's just so complex and too difficult. But every time I've heard these things used as an example, there's someone like your Elon Musk or someone else that steps up to play and shows that no, it can be done. You got a guy with a private business right now that can put human beings in space and bring them back safely with reusable rockets, not ones that land in the ocean and waste, squander millions and millions and millions of dollars. So if we can deal with that, if we can make alternative options and it works in the private sector, for something like space exploration or rocket science, yeah, come on, don't try to tell me that healthcare and education is just too far beyond that. We just can't figure it out, right?
Another one of my tweets some time ago, I was saying that maybe it's time for us to have something like the Second Amendment in the United States. The right to bear arms to protect your family, your liberty, your property, and this should be not a privilege. It should be a right of every Canadian citizen. And a lot of people who own guns and agree with me said, "Oh, you're never going to get this. You're never going to get." We can, if we get united. We can do a lot of things that you can't even imagine. But we have to unite. We have to unite and fight for our rights.
Yes. Oh, I agree 100%. And when it comes to the Second Amendment, which is basically just a person's, legal, acknowledged, or even ethical, I would say, or moral right to defend themselves against people that have criminal intention. And the whole point of the U.S. Second Amendment, which in Canada, this is the third rail in terms of politics, is, it wasn't just for hunting, and it wasn't just for invading armies of foreign country. No, the Second Amendment was there in case your government ever went tyrannical on you. That's literally the point. But Canadians, if you say that to most Canadians, they're like, "Oh no, don't say that, don't talk." Well, that's the important part. And what I would suggest is, whether you're an American or a Canadian, and like I say, I don't advocate for anything. It's just a thought experiment. But if you believe in having the ability, and you believe you have an inherent right, and a matter of fact, an obligation to defend yourself and those you love against people who are trying to use violence, coercion, or theft towards you, then don't look for the government to write something on parchment or paper to make that a reality. That's something that everybody just fundamentally, because the minute you have to ask the government permission to defend yourself, then you're actually already acknowledging that you're a slave. You know what I mean? So I know that's an uncomfortable thing for a lot of Canadians to hear, but hey, you got to hear it, whether you like it or not.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, right on. Cool. I know that's not a conversation that, like I say, there's some guys out west, and even on my part of the province of New Brunswick, in the rural areas, I can have these kinds of discussion with people like that, and it goes over quite easy. But yeah, when I was living in the big urban centers, you get to talk to people in those areas and even bring these topics up. It's very uncomfortable. You see the old Stockholm syndrome or the cognitive dissonance kicking in big time, right? So, but it like you acknowledge, and like I'm saying is, these are the kind of things that need to be discussed, and people need to really hear and understand. And forget the political correctness. Me and Guto, and I'm sure if we tried, that's the thing. I'm sure if we tried, me and Guto could find things that we fundamentally disagree on. But at the end of the day, all we really need as human beings, as Canadians, are just like, and I love using this example, you might have heard me say this before, is just like if we were going to sit down and play a board game together. Well, just consider our social and economic transactions just like a big giant board game. What do you need first and foremost? You need the rules of engagement, right? And those rules of engagement have to be universalized to the point where nobody gets to game the system or takes control of the bank and then can break or cause everyone else to be poor and broke in the ditches. So when it comes to these rules of engagement, that's what we as Canadians need to discuss. What do we really need at the end of the day, right? We need some ethics, we need morals, we need principles in ways, and we need some way so we can economically transact where we're not using force, coercion, or theft, or wealth and income redistribution. And like I say, when I think about these concepts, the big ideas, rather than getting into the nuances of, oh, you might like this or I like that, things that can be subjective, if we talk about the big ideas, like I say, I think you and I, whether you're a libertarian or conservative, or libertarian or conservative, I think we can talk to even people across the political divide, because I think most of them.
There are things that we don't agree with, but we should get united and fight for the things we agree with. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
Things we have in common, and fight for those things. Yes.
And I say this even as someone like that, friends with Tim Owen, the leader of the Libertarian Party of Canada, is even with discussions between libertarians, we have this constant fight all the time of I'm more pure libertarian, right? I expand and extrapolate the fundamental principles of liberty way better than you, so I'm basically an anarchist, right? But at the end of the day, and me and Tim have had this discussion, you know what? That 5% difference between me and a minarchist, how about we forget about that for the time being? And if we're going to at least be fellow travelers to get to that 95%, then I'm not going to say one goddamn thing bad about you, because at least you're willing to travel me that distance. And if we're willing to travel that distance together, then yeah, I don't want to fight with you. Right? If we ever get to that point where we're at that like right to the end of minarchism all the way to anarchism, then we might have to worry about start fighting about it. But I think at that time, if we could even get close to that point, I think we'd all be pretty goddamn happy and wouldn't be worried about fighting over that last little scrap of difference, as far as I'm concerned. What do you think, Guto?
Oh, I agree with you. I agree. And I'm loving this conversation, really. You're a really cool guy.
Oh, thank you. And I'm really enjoying it too. And actually, this is going by really fast and fluid because of that fact. This is why I like to talk to people, even that I've never met before. I've never met you before. I just remember back in the day, you had tagged me in that post. And I didn't know what it was all about because there were people that were tagging me and stuff. But like I say, I watched it and I seen that you did good and lots of people supported it. And I got to realize that this is a guy that seems like he really does care. And he's a fellow Canadian that's showing all the things that's wrong in this country. And you can tell, like I say, a lot of people that your video resonated with a lot of Canadians because you had lots of interaction. Even to today, I still see it popping up, right?
It has hundreds of thousands of views, and I'm thinking maybe like pay as an ad to make it travel even more.
Sure,
maybe more views. You know what I mean? That's what I'm thinking. Because even though it was made in February, it's still kind of actual. Of course, some people said, there after the 6 months, you should add some more stuff. Oh yeah, there is space for lots of other stuff there. But I think it's still good the way it is to just make it travel longer and for longer and for more time. I think we should have this conversation again. Now I have a family.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Commitment.
Yeah, no problem.
That's going to be coming in half an hour.
Okay.
I have to get ready.
Okay. Did you want, if you got a couple minutes, did you want me to kind of see if anyone's asking any questions in the chat here, or do you just want to?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And like I say, thank you once again, Guto. I really enjoyed having this.
I really appreciate the invitation, and I love it. Anytime you can invite me, I come.
Right on. That's good to hear. Because like I say, that's to me the most important thing today is even myself checking the ego, making sure you never let that get to the point where it's blinding you from the actual vision. And to me, I just want Canada to get to the point where we're respecting each other's sovereignty, our individuality, and like I say, doing the right thing, and forget about all these bullshit fight things that we can fight, whether it's infighting or even people on the opposite side. So whatever I can do, whether it's you or anyone else that's watching the stream, to play host or even engage in a discussion, I don't care where you come from politically or ideologically. Really, at the end of the day, I think most people are decent enough that if you have a conversation with them, you realize that they have similar moral stances. It's just their formula or how you get from A to B is completely upended and actually not even aligned with their actual ethics or moral stance. So really, that's all at the end of the day is, I think, clarifying the language for people, especially some of the younger people, clarifying the language, making sure they're defining the terms and words that they're using, not just using, because I see that a lot too today. Like people use these words and they just make up what they mean. Well, if you can just make up whatever the words mean, then there's not even a point in having an English language or Portuguese or Spanish. You might as well just create your own languages, because we're not actually talking to each other. We're talking past each other, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so let's see what we got here. That's what's this here? Rika. Hey, what's going on, Rika? That's a protection racket, steal 20%. What is this? Wait a sec. How far back am I? Because that's the other thing too. We were chatting so long. I might be way far. 820. Okay, no, because I'm down at the bottom again. Let me see Edgar. Actually, at the very top, the first guy. So let me ask or show these. No, they're gone. Because I had a bunch at the top, but I guess they've gone down so far I can't find them. But there was a guy, Jesus Gonzalez, that put a couple of great questions in there, but I guess I can't go back that far. So let me see if there's anything else. Rika, Edgar, Gato, howdy. Oh yeah, you're Guto. I got another guy, a friend. Actually, he's a moderator for my channel. He's based out of Quebec there. Gato, that's funny. Guto Gato. Villano is his last name. Let's see what we got here. Government doesn't solve problems. They subsidize them. Yeah. What else we got here? Bingo, Bennett. I think it's mostly people just commenting, not necessarily really any questions. So I won't bother. Then I'll stick around after you get off the chat.
It means we did good.
Yeah, well, that's great. Yeah, I think it was great. Like I say, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of people will have really enjoyed this conversation. I know I did. And now that you have, I realize that you have family commitments, and by all means, do your thing, because that to me, at the end of the day, right? That's the most important thing. I don't know if you can see it there, but yeah, family is a very important thing. And actually, one of the greatest thing about being very family oriented is, you want to know the best way to keep government at bay and having to look for government for things is, personal responsibility and having good family members or good community. Because that's the thing. If you have good family members, if you have a good natural extension of your family or your community, then you don't constantly have to look for government to do everything, right? You know how that takes place in the voluntary realm if you got good family and a good community.
Yeah,
so
exactly. One of these days, when everything gets back to normal, I'll pay you a visit in that side of the country that I don't know yet.
And right on. Nice. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're welcome, New Brunswick, anytime, for sure.
I saw lots of videos, pictures, and people who live there, friends of mine, and all this coast. I want to be there. I know, of course, I know the Atlantic coast of Brazil, but not of Canada. I know the West Coast, but not the East Coast. And one of these days I will pay you a visit.
Right on. That's excellent. And if I'm out in the West Coast or in Saskatchewan anytime, actually, there's you and a couple other people I probably want.
Coast here in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, right on. Actually, if you're in Saskatchewan, I just got to look and have a pair of binoculars. I'll find you somewhere.
Hey, let me finish with a joke about.
Go for it.
Two Canadians went to Australia, and they were on the beach, and they were wearing toque and gloves on the beach in Australia. And the two Australians started looking at it. You know this joke or not?
No, I know, but it sounds like it's probably a good one.
The two Aussies start looking at those two crazy Canadians. Said, go there and ask them where they are from, and they are crazy. So, okay, mate. And then the Australian went to talk to the Canadians. Hey, mate, where are you from? And the guys, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. And then the Australian came back to his Australian friend and asked, where are they from? I don't know. They don't speak English.
Yeah, that is a good one. Yeah, that's funny, actually. Yeah, that was great. Go do. Well, listen, before you go, is there anything at all that you want me to share? Because if you want, just put it in our Twitter exchange. Just share the links.
I'll do that later. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and if you want, mention it even right now, so that the people are watching the stream, and you can just mention it and then send me the links later, and I'll add them in the description of the stream.
Okay, I will share this later, and I will tag you.
Okay, perfect.
Is that good?
Yeah. Like I say, all I want, like, if you want, do you have any websites or anything you want shared?
Yeah. I can send you the links to you.
Yeah, just send them in the Twitter message, and then, like I say, I'll copy and paste them once the stream is all finished processing on YouTube, and then I'll have them linked in so that anyone that watches the stream.
I'll send you all the links in 5 minutes, and then later I'll start sharing them as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no problem. You don't even have to do it right now, because it takes about an hour and a half for the YouTube video to do the whole processing. So, like I say, main thing is you go worry about doing your thing with your family, and just like I say, just at some point in time before the night's over or whatever, or if you want to be, quickly the pace and do it right away. Like I say, just so that I have it, so that, later on tonight or tomorrow morning, I can add all that stuff up, depending on how long it takes for the stream to, because was it here on this end, I might not be up too much. Well, I might be up when it's done, but either way, just send the links. And like I say, I really appreciate you having this conversation, and you enjoy the rest of your night. And like I say, we'll definitely have another talk and again sometime soon.
Thank you very much for having me, and we're going to do this again.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Take it easy, my friend. Okay, that was great. I really enjoyed that chat with Guto. That was an excellent conversation. Like I say, he seems like a really nice guy, and a fellow Canadian that obviously is caring and concerned, has a lot of concern with the liberties of Canadians as well. And, he came to this country, like he was saying, for those reasons. He cared about those freedoms. So come on, Canada, we got to get on board and make sure, not just for ourselves, but for people like Guto and anyone else that wants to live and reside in Canada. Yeah, let's make sure, if you want to have Canadian pride, or if you want to, have anything, especially for your kids, your grandkids, that they're going to want to a place that they're going to want to call home, right? And have some of that Canadian pride, then let's make it not just for some people in Canada, but for all Canadians. If you care about Canada, you want to keep Canada, as one of these free, prosperous countries that most people around the world got to, or at least think that was what we're all about, then let's keep it that way. Don't let it be destroyed. And the only way we can do that is by engaging these conversations, talking about these big ideas, and offering solutions. And there are definitely solutions out there for most of the problems that seem insurmountable, when in reality they're not. But anyways, like I say, thank you for everyone that joined the stream. I see Miles Harper, Jesus Gonzalez, Binks Weeble. I'm just going to lift off some of the names here in the chat. So thanks all you folks for joining the chat. Gary Schill, what's going on, Gary? How you doing? Miles Harper. Actually, I think I already said Miles Harper. Who else we got here? Let me scroll down a little more. Mystic Beast Productions. Okay, what's going on, Mystic Beast Productions? Thank you for joining the stream as well. I see Jesus Gonzalez was back into the chat again. Edgar Forrester, welcome to the chat, and thanks for joining us again. Bernard May, people are too lazy to check out the PBC. It's just easy to vote CBC thinking they're voting conservative. Yeah, that's true. Oh, people need to, yes, they need to be more proactive and take more personal responsibility to learning about these things, right? That's what needs to take place. And it kind of bothers me. It's just another thing that bothers me, another thing that grinds my gears. Yeah, we live in the age of information. So ignorance truly is a choice. And it's not just in regard to politics, but philosophy, ethics, morality, and all that stuff. And economics. Yeah, you don't have to even be economically illiterate these days. Not in the age of information. Pretty easy these days to get up to speed if you're persistent and you look in the right places. Who else we got here? Rika. Always nice to see Rika in the chat, of course. Rika's awesome. Who else we got here? But like I say, thanks for all you folks that did show up to the chat. It's a long scroll back down. So Darren Miller, I see. Hey, what's going on, Darren Miller? Good to see you back, Canadian Libertarian. Well, thank you very much, Darren Miller. Appreciate that. Corey W. Yes, Edgar, Agenda 2130. Yes, I know we got those UN agenda things, but once again, there's agenda that's even here in the domestic country we live in. So, and that's quite detrimental as well. But I get you. There's definitely external threats as well as domestic ones. That's true. Who else we got here? I think probably. Okay, I see Guto again. I think that's pretty much it for now. Like I say, I don't want to scroll through the whole thing. That might take a little while. But anyways, like I say, really appreciate you folks that did join the stream. Once again, I'll place links to Guto's page and any other social media presence he has or websites as soon as this stream is ready for to go to be finally processed on YouTube. And by the way, check out, if you haven't already, check out Guto on Twitter. Let me just pull up his username for you so you know how to find him. Okay, notifications. It's real quick here, folks. What are we at here? Oh yeah, so no, it's just just at Guto Penteado. So it's Guto Penteado. Just at Guto Penteado. You'll see him on Twitter. And just give him a follow. And like I say, you'll see that great video he did. And I'm sure he's probably got other stuff in store at some point in time too. So yeah, check out his Twitter page. And like I say, any other social media page or website he has, I'll put that in the link in the description of this stream. And everyone, have yourself a great, it's Saturday night. So enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. And we'll see you in the next stream, which probably be next week. Well, I got a thing I'm doing with David. I got a couple things in the work, but I'll just make sure I don't have them right on hand right now to go by or to look them up. But I'll make sure to post them to all my social media pages. And stay tuned. We'll see you in the next one. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.